there. Good morning, everyone. Ko Nigel Sutton, toko ingoa. As you've heard, I'm the Director of Community Education at Wellington High School, but that's not really my focus. My focus today is on being myself. It's quite a new thing to be this vulnerable. It's really new to ask for help. But I'm going to focus particularly today. I have 3 neurodiversities. I am ADHD diagnosed. I have a thing called Irelen syndrome, which is a visual processing disorder. You may notice my glasses have a tinted lens that helps with that enormously. It means my brain does not light up quite as much when I read. And I also have a thing called Misophonia. Today, I'm going to focus on ADHD. It is the big one that probably affects more people, and the others for me are somewhat subsets of the kind of ADHD. So I want to look through a few things, kind of tell you a bit about it, but there are different kinds of ADHD. I'm going to focus largely on the type 1, which is the hyperactive, low impulse control, poor ability, well, pretty much those 9 things actually, but there is also very much a different kind, and that is essentially, there's 3 kinds. And it really varies when you look at the information. Some people say that we're actually all 3 and we move between them. I definitely, as a young man, was more hyperactive, low impulse control. It's literally very hard to control yourself. But you often find young women, or women generally, are the inattentive, distractible type. I certainly think in some cultures there's probably even higher lack of diagnosis. If you're a quiet, drifty, dreamy Pacifica woman, I don't know where that leaves you, but I bet you don't get diagnosed that much. But we'll talk about privilege as we go through. So there's 3 major kinds, and the problem with that is they are literally the antithesis of each other. So some of us are hyperactive, we're over the top, we're really intense, and others are drifty and dreamy and can't really focus. So, you know, it's a bit of a mess of a name. We don't like it much as a name. Aotearoa is a much better name, you know, many ideas in your brain at once. One of the things I learned recently is neurotypical people, and that's what we call you normies, neurotypicals. So I don't know if you've heard those terms so far, but we have names for you. And you know, we find that the name hasn't helped anyone. Psychiatrists hate it, everyone hates it, because it's not a deficit of attention. It's an inability to regulate our attention. We can hyperfocus, actually all or nothing. We hyperfocus so much, we forget to eat, we forget to go to the bathroom, we forget to do anything. We forget to tell people we love that we care about them. They literally get grunts out of us if we're in a hyperfocus. So, you know, it can be really difficult loving someone. This is Connor DeWolf, and he is a famous TikToker. In the time since he helped me diagnose myself via one TikTok, he's gone from 3 million followers to 5.5. And that's about a, 9-month, 10-month period. I don't know, it was September last year I saw his TikTok. And so, you know, he's pretty famous in the ADHD world, and it just shows that there's lots and lots of us trying to work out our brains, and there's lots of loved ones wondering how they can help. Is it real? Yes, it's real. You heard Dr. Karen. I decided that what she had said yesterday is that we're here as the evolutionary saviors of humanity. We are actually going to help with the evolutionary progress. That's what I heard from her. I don't know, that's where I'm taking it. We are dopamine vampires. So I say that because I think it's, in a way, if you think about, you know, all the vampires just seeking blood all the time, we seek dopamine. We seek it. We don't make it as much as you guys, and we seek it to the point where it affects our morality, our decision making. We can literally change our ethics and morality if there's dopamine at the other side. So where's dopamine live when you don't know? It lives in pornography, drugs, alcohol, sex, arguments and fights, road rage. Yeah, you never ever want to have been a telecommunications company that has crossed me. Seriously, it's ugly. So, how do you help? Well, you've got to recognize neurodiversity as a possibility. You can't go around telling people they're on the spectrum. And frankly, when people say that stuff, that's always said as a negative. Oh, well, they're clearly on the spectrum. It's not actually ever said as, wow, and I wonder what their magical gifts are, because they'll have some, like anyone else. You know, around 25% of people in prison would qualify with ADHD. And they're the stroppy ones. We are stroppy. Second chance learners often involved with neurodiversities or the whole learning failing them thing. And massively underdiagnosed. So you may wonder why there's an explosion of diagnosis, and you may even be around some people in their 40s I was 50. When they're discovering it, it's because it wasn't diagnosed. Everything changed about 2016. The knowledge changed, the acceptance, the brain scans, they've been a major thing because lots of people think we make it up. Fantasy worlds. We live in fantasy worlds, a lot of us, quite a lot of the time, much more than we realise. Personally, I've realised that my fantasy worlds are often my best too. If I can push some of my fantasy into reality, that's when I'm the most creative. It's when I'm the most entrepreneurial. We have a higher than average rainbow community presence. I myself am Takatapui, so there's lots of us who are not heteronormative in some way. And women generally are just much less diagnosed. So there's an epidemic of women being found. And because they often have the type that's not hyperactive, therefore it's kind of like, oh, it's not ADHD. It's just such a bad name. And it's so weird that the same thing, neurological condition, has completely different presentations. So how do you help your kaiako learners recognize it? We're more likely to be anti-vaxxers, we're more likely to buy conspiracy theories, we don't know what to do with our eyes and photos. And thank you to Joe, the amazing photographer, because it was the photos from 2 years ago at the conference that made me go, wow, I really don't know what to do with my eyes and photos. We avoid taking responsibility, we defend, deflect, blame pass, long-tailed and waffle-filled explanations that you don't care about. One of the biggest things I've learned recently is just stop with the long explanations. It's never going to make it okay if the normie doesn't like it. We have tantrums. We have what look like tantrums, but they're actually meltdowns. We get overwhelmed and we have meltdowns. We need more help. Sometimes we need help. We often swear a lot. Quite a lot. I've decided, because of the audience, to absolutely make sure I do not today, but man, you should hear my office. I mean, really, it's an F-bomb city. During lockdown, one of my staff's husbands actually asked to use headphones. He said, I did not know community education would have so much swearing. We often look younger than our age, but we can seem really glib, immature, and we make unusual fashion choices. We are often highly intelligent, but we do also think we can do anything. We have no limits. But sometimes that has literally been my most creative and amazing when I've pushed myself to do something. I launched a masterclass in social media when I barely knew how to use Facebook. I sold it to the market before I had done any work. I then created the course and delivered it for 3 years, very successfully. But, now I can't use Facebook again because I lost interest. Because past we have hyper-focus, we move on. So just wanted to point out the wide-eyed thing. This is me over-analysing and trying really hard to work out what to do with my eyes. Really, just don't know. These other photos, they're all like this. And I remember looking at them going, wow, there's really something wrong with you, eh? There really is. That line that you've been using about being an undiagnosed something, that you've been using to ignore the fact that you actually are an undiagnosed something, you really might need some help. And, I'm masking there. I'm totally masking. I'm dressed in a suit. None of you were much, but I'm dressed in a suit because I think, well, if I look professional, maybe they won't guess I'm just faking it all. Maybe they won't guess that I don't feel like I fit in. Maybe I will be able to, pull it off. Because what's going on inside can't be shared often. It's likely to be intense unless it's vague. So with the hyperactive type, we're intense. I have a thing that I share with a lot of my symptoms. I actually share with autism, but the basis of the logic in my head is ADHD. It's something my psychiatrist said when around the tests. I was saying to the psychiatrist, I freaked out after I got the test from you because I was given 20 minutes to do them and I didn't have time to game them. And he goes, sorry, game them? What do you mean? I said, well, a week later I found out how the test worked online. I found all the results, I found out how it worked. And he goes, so you were upset that you couldn't cheat on your ADHD test to make sure you definitely had ADHD. I go, yeah, that's about right. Yeah, actually, I said, it's not very good, is it? It's such a cheat. And he goes, that is so ADHD of you. Just everything you've just said is like a confirmation. He said, but honestly, your test, we don't see numbers like that very often. It was really, he said, look, you nailed it. It was kind of interesting, and it's a floodgates for us. We love talking about it. We're the neurodiversity that can't shut up about it. We're all over TikTok talking about it. It is the biggest neurodiversity on TikTok. So, you know, we just can't stop talking about it. Oh, but back to generous presumption of common ground. A lot of autistic people and some ADHDers, we have this thing where we meet a new person, we think we instantly like you. We have generous presumption that there'll be common ground between us. This is great for meeting new tutors. The thing, no, it really is. They think I'm super excited about whatever they are because I am. I really mean it in the moment. The thing that goes a little wrong is that later when I see them again, the next time I see them, I have a thing called object permanence, very common with ADHD. I don't recognise them at all. So I've discovered this morning that a person I've met on Zoom only is here, but I met them digitally, so hi. Yeah, no, hi, Kelly. And I didn't recognise you yesterday at all. I have no idea what you look like in real life because I've only met you digitally, so that's not real. We fidget and move about. I just got a standing desk. Part of preparing for this kaupapa has been magic. So much has happened. But yeah, standing desk to help with the fidgeting and stop me going out and ignoring. I am the biggest distraction in my team, and like I am literally the worst distraction. I go out and chat to them about whatever's spiking dopamine, and then I go into my office and I turn on my heel because something else interesting's come up in my head, and I go back and talk again. And yeah, no, I'm a nightmare as a manager in terms of I will just not shut up. So be very clear and direct if you think you're dealing with someone neurodiverse, particularly if you're crossing generations. I already have enough trouble understanding boomer speak as it is. I had to ask a boomer tutor recently whether the guy in the life drawing model was actually fully nude or not. At the end of the conversation, I just went, oh my goodness, it is so annoying being neurodiverse because I still don't actually know. I don't really know. What were those words? What do they mean? So be direct with us, like utterly crystal, literal, clear. We hate ambiguity. Do not use double talk. The number of times I've said if they could just say what they think. We also like you cutting to the chase, you know, we like you being fast. Anyone who says I'll just be brief, we hate, because brief people don't do that. They don't do that. Set very clear and defined timelines and expect it to go completely wrong as it is right now between me and an ADHD kaiako. So there you go. We have benefits. Howie Mandel from America's Got Talent, Jim Carrey, I mean everyone knew that, Adam Levine, Maroon 5, Justin Timberlake, Paris Hilton, Michael Phelps, will.i.am, Justin Bieber, Simone Biles, Paris Hilton. There's a lot of creativity in the ADHD brains, whether you like all of those people or not. And you know, we're kind of pretty energetic and highly entrepreneurial. I mean, I said to Annalise late last year when we were in a sector steering via the private message, oh, you know, big surprise, I'm neurodiverse. And we talked about me doing something at the conference. And so since then, I've been thinking about it, and I started this 4 months ago, but typical ADHD style. I was up at 1 a.m. doing other things and tutoring. You've seen me writing new notes this morning. And so essentially it's that thing, we're just all over the place. Like we're all over the place, but when we can nail it down, we're highly creative. But there is a point of privilege I'll talk about coming up. This is and one of the things, we make unusual connections. We're so busy fitting in and watching all the signs, trying to fit, trying to work out what you guys want from us, that we actually pick things you won't. But it's weird and I never quite know how it's working. So I wrote this in August 2019 for my steering group at work. And it's pretty vague, but it was me trying to say, I think there's really something on the horizon, don't know what it is quite, not sure why, and I wrote this. Many commentators are asserting we will enter a recession in the next 12 months or so. They always are, it's not that big a deal. I am looking to do what I can to prepare CEC for tighter financial times by bringing on courses that promote cost saving, home economics, blah blah. A turn in the global economy would reduce travel, which in turn would affect language courses as people won't do them so much if they're not taking overseas trips. I didn't know there was a global pandemic coming. I didn't know they were going to shut our borders. I just knew that something was coming that was big that was going to shut it down. Recently, last year, I said to Francis in my office, please take term 4 upholstery off the website. The tutor will not be there. And she said, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, no, he's going to let us down. And I mean, this is how it works. I simply knew that the tutor wouldn't deliver the plans I care about. I'm very outcome obsessed. And so in my vision, he just didn't achieve them. So she didn't take it off the website because she didn't agree with me, and I've taught my team to kick back because they need to wrangle me. And so essentially, he then passed away and couldn't teach. And I didn't know that. I simply knew that he wouldn't be where I needed him for my plans. That's how it works. But it feels pretty callous to people because, you know, you're like, But in truth, I was right. She could have taken it off then, but it would have seemed, And, there's that thing, we like being right, but it's not really that popular when we're right sometimes, My kaiako who have ADHD need whiteboard markers every single time they teach. They don't know where they're going. I've lost and found things this morning like crazy because I'm a bit nervous, a bit wound up about this, so I better hurry up too. But be intensely enthusiastic with your neurodiverse kaiako. If you want something achieved by ADHD people, so I said to Annalise, bombshell, I'm neurodiverse, a veritable shopping list of conditions actually, doesn't that explain a lot? And she comes back with, I love that shopping list. If only others had more in their cart, imagine the magic it would create. P.S. I knew you had magic powers. And I had a cry, actually. I needed that at the time. And I got an ADHD coach, because yes, that's a thing. And I got one, from Tik Tok, of course. And he said, his first reaction to me was, I read over your description, I'm certainly looking forward to sitting down and speaking with you. ! Overuse them in communications with us, we quite like them. I hope you're having, but not 3, come on, in a row, I hope you're having an amazing day and I'm excited. Now the word excited is kind of exciting to me, I noticed. If it's appropriate, touch us. If we're panicking, put your hand on our back. If it's appropriate, touch us. If you want us to listen, hold our hand, connect with us. Pele, your 3 breaths is beyond genius. It's well researched. 3 breaths bring people to the present. That was good. The clapping was good yesterday. The any movement is good. Dancing, touch, etc. Please, never say that to anyone. It is the most judgmental phrase I know of. You are saying, stop doing what you're doing right now. It makes me uncomfortable. I don't like it. And you might get this as a reaction. Certainly from me, that's been the common reaction over the decades. It got worse. If you're undiagnosed in your 40s, you're kind of in trouble as far as I can tell from how it went. We go AWOL, we vanish without telling you. We don't reply to things. We're really bad with digital. We forget. We read the text. We reply to you in our head. I realised this morning I've replied 5 weeks ago in my head to a good friend in Australia, just not in person. We don't know this. We think we're great with digital. We're quite delusional. But info vanishes on a screen. In my office, it's wall planners, it's analogue clocks, it's desk things, it's physical stuff I can see. And we're optimistic. We often don't notice that we're neurodiverse. With ADHD, it's the condition we're often about 30. Some of us are buffered by kind people till we're 50. Kind people have made the difference. Take breaks in your courses. We need more breaks. Yesterday there was some slightly brutal long corridors for me. And that's this, I fidget like hell. I had to leave at one point. I seriously, and the research says that you've got to give us breaks. We go to the toilet heaps more too, heaps more, if we remember. No, seriously. If you are an undiagnosed adult ADHD, you will be the only person in your 30s or 40s who has toileting accidents that you somehow explain away, but you will have probably peed your pants in public. Seriously, think about that. 2 decades of it. Tell us if something's not working. I have volume control issues. I go too loud or really quiet. I had a smelly student recently. Could have been autism sometimes. Teeth brushing, things like this can be difficult. I had sent a very direct, clear email and tried to be as kind as I could, and I sought help in writing it. And that person kept coming to class and never smelled again. And that person was 19, so if it was autism, even if it was just bad hygiene, I hope that helped their life be better. If the person is open about it, ask them, are they being neurological or naughty? The problem for me is it often spikes dopamine to be naughty. I like teasing people, I like doing things that wind them up. And so it's both. It's neurological, but I'm getting off on the kind of reaction. I had a tutor going, I need a whiteboard. And I knew there was one in my cupboard, but I just went, oh yeah, I'll see what I can do. Because she was fuming about it. And I literally knew it was there and I had it to her in 2 minutes. But I wouldn't tell her that. I just was enjoying her wind up. I mean, it was so inappropriate, but it was... I didn't realise at the point, it was dopamine. I mean, she still got her damn whiteboard in a second. I mean, we bruise really easily. We can be vicious, so vicious, when we're in a rage. But we really struggle with feedback. And this is probably the biggest thing I'd like you to kind of understand. RSD is what happens to us over years of seeing your normie-faced expressions of disgust, repulsion, when you just cannot stand our behaviour. And during this presentation, a very ADHD man in his late 30s through the public health system who's just been broken by it, came to my office and I saw that on my staff's face largely, not yours, Ian, thank you. But at RSD, rejection, sensitivity, dysphoria, we suffer enormously. We literally go home and spend hours worrying about things. We worry about stuff from years ago. Did they really laugh? Did they really think I was funny when I told that joke? I didn't even know why they thought it was funny. And it could be like 10 years ago. We're also a bit like that with grief. It sits in a box, you open it, it's just like yesterday or today. Sit learners at the front. Sorry, I'm gonna have to wrap it up. Yes. No direct confrontation. You'll probably get the defending rage. Avoid lecturing us. You are much better to tell us how it would help you. We do like to help. We like to be cooperative. We like people mostly. But cut to the chase. Tell us what you want. Give us an infographic. Ignore minor inappropriate behaviour. We can be really inappropriate. Some of you have definitely witnessed things. I can think of one particular Mirai scenario with Ace Aturo where I was pretty inappropriate in the game, and it was one of those Chinese whispers where unfortunately what I said actually never got corrupted. So when it came out at the end, it had quite a swear in it. Gamify confronting situations. I didn't want to go to a meeting recently and said, I'll come with you and let's see if there's any hotties. Perfect. Now I want to go. Another time she said, but you're wearing your new jersey and no one's seen it. Oh, okay. Gamify. Let us have our toys, our fidget spinners, our headphones, our blankets, our soft toys, our spinning tops, our body doubles, body doubling. I actually use my cat for my law degree. She would sit there. A person sitting somewhere in our space will help us focus. I particularly like body doubling with people in the gym. Particularly, a hot guy. Sometimes they don't know I'm body doubling, sometimes they do. Stimming means we need a break. Stimming, it's all sorts of physical movements. I was hoping I'd kind of naturally stim today, but I probably am. The hand waving is one of my versions. Mine are all quite, I always thought I was just such a white guy at dancing, but actually I'm just stimming in shots, pretending to dance. It's a mass stim. So I look like the whitest bad dancer around, but I'm actually just stimming. Protein, we need protein. It builds dopamine, water, sunshine, singing, movement, exercise, dancing, and let us be neurodiverse. That is probably my biggest single message. I honestly feel like I've wasted years trying to fit. And there's a neurodiversity week that we have with this lady she created, this young lady who's got a lot of neurodiversities. And Cadence Chung, a poet, said, and she actually comes from Wellington High, but she says this: even as I write this, I know that some may tell me how brave it is that I'm addressing stigma like so many other people are told when they talk about any sort of mental non-conformity. But that way of thinking reveals how people feel about these topics. The idea it's brave to talk about my existence shows that being who I am is considered some radical act. And yes, I won't deny it, often I hate being like this. We have struggles every day. I am not without my struggles, but I cannot hate the autism because there is no part of myself that I can separate from my psyche. And that's exactly how I feel. I wouldn't be without my neurodiversities other than the misophonia. I'd get rid of that in a second, it sucks. But the ADHD, I'd no sooner be heterosexual than I'd sooner lose my ADHD at this stage. So there's two camps. That's not always the way. It varies for people. We do need more help and we're not good at asking for it. But some of you are so busy judging us that we just end up seeing that expression that we've seen so many times that we suffer countless hours of RSD. So maybe, I don't know. What I say is crack your atom and let your light flow. And for goodness sake, let our neurodiverse lights flow too. Thank you.